Thursday night is politics night here on 5 Live.
Question time, extra time.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Right, Peter in Suffolk, we've kept you waiting for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes on housing. What would you like to say?
Okay. Well, I'd like to address the initial question was about rent, but then it gravitated down to actually the shortage of housing, especially social housing in this country. Yes, of course, we need to build more houses. We need to have a massive housing building programme. That is to cater for a population which is estimated to be, according to the National Office of Statistics, about 10 million extra people by about 2030, when my granddaughter will be in her probably early 20s. Now, the politicians always get a clap when they say we'll build more houses, but they never are being quite truthful, are they? They never say, hello, people of Britain, we celebrate our growing numbers and we must now cater for them. We will build thousands and thousands of more houses in your country.
Well,
But sorry those who live in pretty little villages. Sorry about your green fields. Sorry about your listed areas. You're going to have to accept houses there as well.
But John Peter, are there not enough brownfield sites?
Well, there are clearly brownfield sites that can be used, but the argument is that the need is just so great. You've got to look at
near enough brownfield sites.
Well, there is clearly some brownfield sites that can be used, but the argument goes you can't provide the sort of housing you need unless you look at the protection given to greenfield sites, in particular in the green belt.
Absolutely.
But I think you've made this point, Peter. When you go into that sort of territory of discussion, you start running into opposition.
Well, you will. Yeah, but the MPs are fearful of saying it, aren't they? They don't say it. They don't say, look, sorry, in your snooty little villages, you've got to have that nasty housing estate, whether you like it or not. Sorry, you've got to have those windmills parked outside your pretty forest. Sorry, you won't have so many forests. They won't say that. This is an inevitable consequence of having a massive housing policy, and you don't just build houses. It's a naive
But Peter, you position this in a them and us argument as if the people living in those pretty villages, it's them against the rest of the world, so to speak. Of course, you want the landscape to be proportional, don't you? You don't want. Actually,
I'm not speaking personally.
Yeah, but
I'm too old to see.
But you believe in planning, Peter, don't you? You don't want a free for all where people can build anywhere and everywhere.
You will have planning and you will have objections, but what we're not getting is political honesty about it. That's my point. We have to have politicians that are prepared to say to people, you will have to accept this huge housing development, and you will have to accept the infrastructure that goes with it. It's called growth, incidentally. If you want a country to grow, and that means industrially as well as providing houses and jobs for everyone, sorry, you're not going to have so much countryside unless there's someone's come up with some formula that I'd love to hear.
Well, the commentator Andy Walton listening to this, Peter in Suffolk, Andy's looking for more honesty from government and a change of tack as well.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with some of what you said. I think we do need more honesty on this debate because we keep being told that house prices rising are a good thing, and actually a lot of the recovery is down to house prices, particularly in London, rising, but we're not told the downsides of that. I'm actually moving house this weekend from renting from some friends, and the only reason I've been able to live where I do in East London, a very popular area to live, is because I've been renting from friends. And I'm now going to rent from a landlord that I know and he's giving me a good deal. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to live in the community that I've been part of for the last few years.
Well, then you can't afford it. Then you can't afford it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not on a low wage. I'm on pretty much the kind of average salary for the UK.
But it does.
So I do pretty well.
It comes down to actually a pretty basic question, Andy, doesn't it? Which is, do you live where you can afford to be, or is it for government to make it affordable for where you want to live?
Yeah, but the problem here isn't just me. The problem isn't just me. The problem is, do we want, a city like London, for instance, and this is not just about London, it's about the whole country, but if we take London as a case in point, what we're seeing is a choice between London becoming somewhere like Paris, where actually what you have is a kind of donut effect, where all the lower wage workers live on the very outskirts of the city and are kind of bust in to do the cleaning and the more menial jobs in the centre of the city, and you get and the social consequences of that. We've seen the sort of rioting and that kind of thing that you get in Paris. Do we want London to become a society and a city like that? The question isn't where I live, although that's obviously important to me. The question is where millions of people doing the essential jobs, cleaning the offices, manning the canteens, that kind of thing, where are they going to live? And London homes now cost 12 times the median salary of people who live in London. That's absurd.
And your solution would be to do what?
Well, there's a lot of different solutions. We've got to build more houses, but that in itself isn't the answer.
Well, you ain't going to do that in the centre of London, are you?
No, certainly not. We've got to disincentivise people from owning, purely for speculation. So there are whole places in whole areas of London and indeed other cities now that are owned by, people from the Middle East, people from Russia and elsewhere who have no intention of living there. So we've got to work out how do we disincentivise people from so something like charging double the council tax, for instance, would make a big impact, I think, on those kind of second and third homes that people are owning.
Disincentivising entrepreneurs, Andy?
No, disincentivizing people who are there to make a quick buck. And the problem is that property has gone from being an investment that people would make, perfectly legitimate investment that people would make, as a nest egg, something like that, to being, people having absolutely no intention of ever even visiting the property that they buy. They live thousands of miles away. They own a string of properties and they charge extortionate rent. And that is distorting the British housing market to a point where people can't afford to live nearby to their friends and family.
But is that, Andy, an enormous problem in terms of volume of housing? Look, we know that in London, you do have property bought up by well-off Russians, certainly by well-off people from the Middle East, and also people from other countries like Greece and Spain looking to get their money out of their countries due to the sort of faltering economy. They might have invested in a home in London as well. But are these the sort of volumes that make a difference to the market? I mean, Russian oligarchs and Arab sheikhs do not own most of London.
They own big chunks of it now, certainly compared to what they used to, John. But I think, you touch on a point. There isn't one silver bullet here that's going to magically kind of solve this problem. We do need to build more houses. We do need to disincentivise those who own a string of houses and are only looking to extract major profit from them. But I think that we need to look at other creative solutions. Something that I've been particularly interested in recent years is a model called a community land trust. And I've been sort of slightly involved in the setting up of the very first urban community land trust here in East London. And that is a model whereby the land is owned in perpetuity by a committee appointed by the community. And the value is pegged to the median income in the area so that it will remain permanently affordable for that local community. We need alternative solutions like that, creative solutions like that as well.
Okay, Andy Walton, thank you for joining in the conversation this evening. Give us a call. You join in 0500 909 693. Linda on the line from Essex. Hello, Linda.
Good evening.
Hello.
I don't know if I can say this or whether I'm supposed to say it, but I'm going to be an independent candidate in the coming general election for Rayleigh and Wickford. And we've been fighting for the last 2 years a council that has spent £2.6 million on a local plan to put houses across swathes and swathes of our green belt, totally ignoring any brownfield sites that are in the district. Now, last week, at the moment, in South East Essex, actually, we've got a new group that's got together. I say new, it's got about 12 groups to it now, and they're called the South East Essex Action Group Alliance, and it's actually 12 or 13, I think it is now, action groups and all the villages and towns in around the district ganging up together because we do not have the infrastructure to take the level of housing that government are trying to impose upon our districts. It's double what we're meant to be needed, but added to that, we haven't got the roads or the drains or anything to take it.
Why?
Now,
what's the reason for this, Linda? If there is if there is land available in the urban area with the infrastructure that housing needs and all the rest of it, why is it not being developed?
Well, don't you ask me. I know the whole of the corridor down the Thames, where the whole of the Ford plant was, right the way through. There is one great big wasteland at the moment waiting to be developed, and they're sending out instructions to the villages and towns of Essex to build on their green farmland.
Is that because it's easier for a developer to put the homes there, to put down all the necessary infrastructure, the sewage and everything else, just on virgin country land?
Absolutely, and it's the profit margin. And we've just had this week, which is almost unbelievable, to be honest with you. We've got a disused prison in this district. It's called Bulwood Hall, former Women's and Youth Offenders Prison, sitting in 48 acres of land. Now, a good part of that is now brownfield because the prison is on it, the car parks, the staff accommodation, you name it. And the prison estates are actually negotiating with a development company, and their plans are, and I want you to listen to this very carefully, their plans on this 48 acres of land is to place 55 multi-million-pound mansions. That's what they're going to be building on Bulwood Hall prison site, which is owned by the public. It's owned by the public purse, if you like.
Yeah. Well, Linda, if that's an accurate summary of what the plan is, I can see why it might be just a bit controversial. Thank you for calling in, Linda, tonight. 0500 909 693.